Why do skinny players dominate football?
Did you go in the gym and do a lot of weights when you were playing?
It might surprise you, I never used to go to the gym.
No?
Never. I valued more minutes on the pitch than minutes in the gym.
Why do you not go in the gym?
I don't need, my friend. Football is football, it's not foot gym.
After looking at a bunch of different sports, I started to realize that the physique of footballers is directly related to the demands of the sport. Now, what does that mean? You see, if the physique of a basketball player or an American football player or a rugby player actually improved performance for footballers, then all of the players would adopt that physique. Why? Because it would give them a competitive advantage. But that skinny, agile physique actually improves performance for footballers. Now, what do I mean by this? You see, football is a skill-dominant sport. Unlike a sport like basketball, where 17% of Americans over 7 foot play in the NBA. Like, that is a crazy stat. Or even American football. You see linebackers, 250 pounds, blocky with no stamina. Those are completely different physiques, and those are a lot more physicality dominant. And listen, there are exceptions in sports where physicality can trump skill. Like, you see guys like Mbappe, you see guys like Traore, where their skill almost isn't as important because they're so freaking fast or so freaking strong or whatever it is. But the exception isn't the rule. So football being a very skill dominant sport, our goal is to be able to master the skill and put in as many hours into the skill as possible. What does that mean for us? We must remove anything that takes minutes away from the pitch. So for example, Faira Zahabi, who is George St. Pierre, his trainer. George St. Pierre is like, the best UFC fighter of all time. He doesn't allow his fighters to do any eccentric movements. And I know you're saying, where are you going with this? This is like outside of a football context. I'm gonna bring it all back. So he doesn't allow his fighters to do any eccentric movements. An eccentric movement is when the muscle lengthens and you kind of go down. So if you look at a bicep curl, going up is concentric and going down is eccentric. So why am I telling you this? He doesn't allow his fighters to do eccentric movements because it taxes their body and it makes them too sore to be able to do jiu-jitsu practice. He believes it takes around 10 years to get a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So he doesn't want to allow his fighters to do anything that's going to take minutes away from the mat.
If you add up at the end of the year who trained more, I've trained way more than you. So let's say I go to jiu-jitsu practice. I'm doing jiu-jitsu every single day, 3 rounds, 5 days a week. That's 15 rounds. You go in twice a week, but you kill yourself. You do 5 rounds each day. You push yourself those last 2 rounds and you burn yourself out. I still did 15. You're at 10. At the end of the year, I've done countless rounds more. I've had so much more training than you. That's the real question. How much volume can you expose your athlete to?
Same principle applies to us. Any weightlifting routine you have or whatever it is that takes time away from the pitch is actually counterintuitive and works against us because of how important skill is in football. Also, anything that allows you to put more minutes into the pitch. So removing things that take minutes away and anything that allows you to put more minutes into the pitch is also very important. So what does that look like? That looks like recovery. Recovery is a fundamental pillar to this. Why? Because if it allows you to put more minutes on the pitch, then it's another thing in your favor that allows you to get closer and closer to mastery. And real quick, before I mention the last thing that's going to allow you to put more minutes on the pitch, the physical capacity footballers have to be able to play is much different than other sports. You see, we have around 2 hours, 2.5 hours a day of high intensity training, and then we're capped, and then we're finished. But you have guys like Habib, you have guys like Kobe Bryant who can train 8 hours a day because their sport allows them to use half lower body, half upper body. But football is basically an all lower body sport. So we are capped at 2 hours a day. Now, this actually goes into my last point about putting more minutes on the pitch. You can implement something called low impact training. Now, low impact training is a training method that allows you to train and improve your performance without physically fatiguing your body. Now, this looks like something called wall ball. Wall ball is something you can do outside of the 2 hours that still improve your skill level and get you closer to mastery. You see, the beauty about wall ball is it doesn't tax your body too much. It doesn't make you too sore. So even before session, it won't bleed into your session. And even if you do it after a session, it won't bleed into your recovery. So number 1, removing things that take minutes away from the pitch. Number 2, doing things that put you onto the pitch more, like recovery. And number 3, other ways where you can train and not get fatigued, like low impact training. So these are 3 things I'm implementing into my game to get me closer to that level of mastery. And I'm sure you've heard that thing where they say it takes 10,000 hours to master something. Well, there it is. If you can put more minutes or more hours on the pitch with these techniques, then you get closer to that level, right? Now, my name is Alp. I'm an aspiring professional footballer myself. I see a big gap in the market with football content right now. I want to take more of an intellectual, more of a thinker's approach to going pro in football. So if you learned anything from this video, then subscribe.